So aptitude and foundational values of civil service, always remember these terms: integrity, impartiality, non-partisanship, objectivity, dedication to public service, empathy, tolerance, compassion towards living creatures. It has to be in your brains always, because you can use this excellently in answer writing. So this is the meaning of each and everything. As already I have said, they can ask directly what are the foundational values of civil services. So for integrity, this is for civil service. As a citizen, you should have these things. As a public servant, you should have these things. Now remember, whenever you are writing the answers, I already said you have to substantiate everything with some examples. Write about some personalities who have shown some integrity, impartiality. For that, you have to note down all the personalities who are there, right? From history perspective, right? Already I have discussed that. Emotional intelligence, concepts and utilities of emotional intelligence, and application in administration and governance. Now look, emotional intelligence. Now this can be added with the previous topic itself, because this is one foundational value. In order to be impartial, objectivity, what you should have emotional intelligence. Then only you can be empathetic or compassionate. Now the question is, what is emotional intelligence? Every person will have emotions. Emotions are of two types: positive emotions and negative emotions. Emotions are the stimuli which make or break a person, right? Hence, a person has to be well aware of what his emotions are causing him and how he is reacting. So emotional intelligence is nothing but knowing what our emotions are and how it is driving our actions. Not only knowing our emotions, but also it is knowing others' emotions and how they are acting based on that emotions. Hence, emotional intelligence is having the knowledge about emotions of one's own and others, and how they are making or breaking the personality of a group or the personality of an individual. That is called emotional intelligence. Emotions can be two types. Already I said: happiness, sadness, optimism, pessimism. These are all emotions. Now, why emotional intelligence is very, very important? Now, concepts of emotional intelligence. In any emotional intelligence, what are the concepts? There are four concepts. First concept is you have to know about yourself. Know yourself. The second thing is knowing others' emotions. How you can know your emotions? Through two things: self understanding by meditation, and then self regulation. Self regulation. First, you have to understand what your emotions are causing you. If you are very unhappy, what your behavior is. So that knowledge should have. So self knowledge should be there. Once you are aware of your emotions, how it is causing the problems, you have to correct them. That is called self-regulation. So at the individual level, by doing meditation, I can understand which type of emotions are causing me which type of action. Once you have that knowledge clearly, then you have to convert your emotions to the self-regulated. You have to regulate them for your good. That is called emotional intelligence. So what I said, emotional intelligence is having knowledge about one's own emotions and the others of emotions of others, so that you will regulate them for the benefit of personality as well as benefit of the society, right? Now, emotions can be two types, I said: positive emotions, negative emotions. Emotional intelligence is converting the negative emotions into regulating them, so that it will add benefit to the individual. ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి నెగిటివ్ పాజిటివ్ ఉంటాయి. నెగిటివ్ని కూడా పాజిటివ్గా కన్వర్ట్ చేసి దాని నుంచి అవుట్పుట్ తీసుకోవడమే ఎమోషనల్ ఇంటెలిజెన్స్, రైట్? For example, I will be very angry. Anger is a very harmful emotion, but I can show that anger at the appropriate time to make the work done. So I am using anger to get some work done. Say for example, if my subordinates are not listening to me, and one day I will shout at them so that to keep the business in order. So this is very knowledgeable thing. So like this, you have to convert your negative emotions into positive thing. That is called self-regulation. So what are the concepts? Concepts are two concepts. First thing is intelligence at my level, how I am going through self-realization and self-regulation. This is first thing. Second one is others, in perspective of others, social realization and social regulation. Because you have to understand emotions of others also, because unnecessarily today emotions can be easily tweaked by people. They will act as if they are crying, as if they are feeling bad, but intentionally they will be doing something different. In order to get the work done, they will appear before you as if they are facing some crisis. But as an officer, if you are going with their cries, it is going to lose your objectivity. So you should not decide a case based on whether they are crying or whether they are happy. How you have to based on rationality. In order to understand the rationality, you have to understand what is the emotion of the other person, whether, and you have to gauge whether that emotion is correct or not, and make that emotions to go with a rational board. For that, what it is required is understanding the others and regulating the others. This is very, very important. Hence, the concepts of emotional intelligence are two, which is self and others. In the self, there are two: self-realization, self-regulation; others realization, others regulation. By having all these four, you can become emotionally rich, and you have to know what is the emotions, and this is very, very important, because in any circumstance, if you are a civil servant, you will be faced in different places. At that time, the public may be with huge emotions. They might be with anger, they might be with sad, they might be with not cooperating. So you have to understand their emotion and act accordingly to get the maximum good for the public as well as for the self-interest of the company, or for the self-interest of the department. And applications in administration. Why applications in administration is very, very important? What is the utility? Utility is, it is going to make your work very simple. uh, Departmental values or aims will be reached to the highest level. Welfare objectivity is going to reach. It builds your objectivity, it builds dedication to public service, empathy is built, tolerance is built because of your emotional intelligence. So again, it is going to bring in good work culture. Now, what is its application in administration and governance? Whenever you write about governance, think about the aspects of good governance, right? Good governance is citizen-centric governance, accountable governance, transparent governance, grievance redressal governance, public consensus governance. So all these are the aspects of good governance. Just get that points and write how it is adding to this. So remember them. So this is how you have to write in administration as well as governance. Next, contributions of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and the world. No need to study each and every moral thinker and philosopher. More or less you can manage. But I will show you how to write this answer and how to write this answer. That is, lessons from the lives of teachings of great leaders, reformers and administrators. I will show you how to write in a separate format. How the questions are asked from these two and how we have to address. अभी देखो वो टू है, human lessons from the lives and teachings of great leaders, reformers, administrators. Leaders, reformers and administrators, and here they have said moral thinkers and philosophers. So leaders, reformers, great thinkers, moral thinkers, philosophers, these are the things. So you cannot discuss about each and every personality. So they don't ask about personality. If they ask a personality, that personality will be known to every one of us, where you can manage. But I will tell you tomorrow how to manage the answers for this. By looking at the questions, how can we manage the answers? Though we don't read these personalities, how to manage. That I'll tell you tomorrow. Next one, public and civil services values. Ethics in public administration. Now look, this is about ethics in public administration, status and problems. What is the problems of our public administration today? We do not have ethical values, or ethical values are dwindling because there is huge amounts of lack of integrity, lack of impartiality, lack of non-partisanship, lack of objectivity, lack of dedication to public service, apathetic nature, intolerance nature, lack of compassion towards weaker sections. There is no emotional intelligence. All these are the problems and status of our public administration. Hence, ethics is very, very important in public administration. Now, how you have to build that ethical values in public administration? How you have to build. Now, ethical concerns and dilemmas. What will be the ethical concerns? Not having above all the things are ethical concerns. And what are the ethical dilemmas? At times you will not be able to understand conflict of interest, where you will be giving importance to yourself or to your family rather than the public interest. So this is called conflict of interest, one dilemma. The second dilemma is whether to follow the rules or whether to follow your conscience. This is one dilemma. The third dilemma is whether to be open or whether to be transparent or whether to be non-transparent. So these are the ethical dilemmas. Depending upon the case study, you can write what are the ethical dilemmas that you face on regular basis, right? Ethical concerns and dilemmas in government and private institutions. Even in private institutions, you will have ethical dilemmas. Just like the cases we have seen, multinational companies, banks, right? So all these are the things. Laws, rules, regulations, and constraints are source of ethical guidance. Now look. What were the sources of ethical guidance? Now see, what are the determinants of ethical values? The determinants are these things: laws, rules, regulation, constraints are sources of ethical determinants. So again, ethical determinants are nothing but, in order to guide you, laws plays a very crucial role, rules plays a very crucial role, regulations plays a crucial role, constraints plays a very crucial role. Next, accountability. This should be added in good governance and ethical governance. So ethical and good governance is accountable governance, where you have to write that in this concept, that is called good governance culture. Transparency, information, accountability, these are the things which will be added under accountability, right? So ethical concerns and dilemmas, laws, rules, regulations, accountability and ethical governance, strengthening of ethical and moral values in governance. These are the things. So they don't ask important direct questions. They will ask how laws plays crucial role, how rules plays crucial role, how regulations plays a very crucial role. If they ask laws, give some laws and write the examples. If they ask rules, what are the rules? You can write directly these rules: code of conduct rules, code of ethics rules. This is going to play a very crucial role. Consensus is virtue ethics. Next one is how accountability and ethical governance. What is ethical governance? Ensuring ethical values in your governance structure is known as ethical governance, and it is synonymous with good governance. So good governance has ethical governance as one of its triads. So whatever the things that are there in good governance, you might have studied it in good governance. What are the important aspects of good governance? In governance, you might have studied it. So you have to add that points here. Now, what are the good governance issues? I'll discuss that in a while. Accountability is one thing. What is accountability, guys? Taking the responsibility for the actions that you have performed and that you have committed or not committed is known as accountability. Taking responsibility for the actions that you have committed or omitted while exercising a public office is known as accountability. When you are doing your duty, what type of actions that you have taken, what type of actions that you have omitted, taking that things is known as accountability. So remember that. Now, how accountability can be increased? Accountability can be increased. If you want to be more accountable, you have to be transparent. So accountability can be linked with transparency. What is transparency? Avoiding secrecy and being open in all the work that you have done is known as transparency, right? Not revealing is secrecy. Transparency will be increased with opening up. How you can open up? You can open up by having certain things. What are the things? By sharing the information. How you can share the information? Right to information, RTI Act, Citizenship Charter or Citizens Charter is one RTI sharing mechanism. E-governance is one way of increasing your transparency. Self-proclamation of the facts, that is sumo to declaration of the facts by the institution, is one thing. So in order to increase transparency, there will be some factors. That factors we will study. So all these are related to public governance. I will show you how that public governance is going to help you. Right? Accountability, ethical governance. I will discuss this in depth about governance, how it is related to good governance, and how that leads to accountability. These things, there will be some substantial argument where you can write any question. Not only in ethics, even the same thing should be used in governance chapter in GS paper 2. Strengthening of ethical and moral values in governance. How you have to strengthen ethical and moral values? Follow the good governance norms, right? How to have, first thing is ethical and moral values is whenever you are recruiting the people, test their ethical and moral values, just like UPSC is testing with GS paper 4. Second thing is, after recruiting, induction programs has to be given, and in the induction programs you have to give them ethical training and moral training. You have to give them different case studies and you have to do. Third thing is, you have to assure The honest officers, that they are not going to be targeted by anyone. You should ensure that the people are getting some security from the government. So this is how you can strengthen the ethical and moral values. Fourth thing is public government, or we should have a good team, so that whoever is following these norms, there should be moral support for them. So all these things can strengthen ethical and moral values in governance. And most important thing is following the good governance norms. These are the 5 things that you can follow in ethical values in governance. Now, ethical issues in international relations and funding. What is the ethical issues in international relations? Article 51 of the Indian Constitution. Right? I already said. Look at one chapter of Lakshmikant. Right? I will show you that. So just read that. That is the ethical values that you should have. So here there is one thing called India's foreign policy, 75th chapter of Lakshmikant. Let me quickly go through this. So what are the foreign policy? So these are the ethical values. Promotion of world peace is one ethical issue that you should have. But today the world issue or peace is not there. Anti-colonialism should be the norms. But today new forms of colonialism is coming. Which type of colonialism? This you call it as financial colonialism or debt colonialism. So new forms of colonialism. I am giving debt and I am colonizing you. Anti-racialism, but still countries like the oldest democracy like USA is still suffering from racialism. Obama is telling to India that India is having some problems, but Obama's country itself has some problems. Right? Anti-racialism should be the ethical values at the global level. Non-alignment to any of the countries who are going to cause damage is one of the best ethical values that the countries has to follow, and they have to maintain the global order. The principles in Panchashil can be written as one of the best things, that is mutual respect is ethical value, non-aggression in others, non-interference with others' internal affairs, mutual benefit and peaceful coexistence. These are all the ethical issues that you should have. So remember these principles also. Don't write Panchashil, but write these things. If we are discussing about how India can solve border disputes or what are the ethical issues that you have to show, you have to remember them. Then Afro-Asian bias they have given. So this you can write saying that this is giving bias towards the weaker countries, least developed countries. So we have to be always taking care of them. So that is one ethical issue. Right? Link of Commonwealth you can remove here because this is speaking about India. Support to United Nations organizations means support to global organizations which are there in order to establish peace, which are there in order to establish order in the world, which are there to promote to trade without any obstructions. So you have to promote all them and we have to support all them. Disarmament is one of the best global ethical issue that you have to look at. So all these are the ethical issues. So directly remember the side headings of this 75th chapter, and that is going to solve the purpose of your ethical issues and international relations. So ethical issues in international relations is Article 51 of the Indian Constitution, promotion of world peace. And look at that Article 51. You should have known that there are 4 subtopics in Article 51, right? Not only one, right? Promotion of world peace. Second one is no country should go for colonialism, no country should adapt racialism, no country should align with some war causing people or war causing nations. We have to follow the principles of Panchashil, the 5 principles. We have to be biased towards the so-called least developed countries, at least in some global problems like solving terrorism, solving food crisis, solving global environmental crisis with the least, with common but differentiated responsibility norms, right? Align with United Nations organization and multilateral institutions which are trying to support or establish global order and then support disarmament. So these are the things that you should have at the so-called international relations. So what is the chapter? 75th chapter. Side headings matrame gurpettunte vastundi. And funding. Funding is very important to tackle some problems. First problem is environment. Today the global leaders or the developed countries are escaping their responsibility to fund to the developing countries or the least developed countries in order to tackle this climate change. Hence, funding has to be done in common but differentiated responsibility mode. This is the first thing. The second thing that you have to focus is funding to some unethical groups is also an issue, such as the terror elements, right? That is the reason why Financial Action Task Force of G7 will be looking at these countries. For example, the funding that is given to Pakistan by global institutions are going to be utilized by terrorist activities. Now, this type of issues has to be stopped. So, funding for war, funding for increasing the arms and ammunition should be stopped with immediate effect so that we will maintain global order. So, when you say funding, funding can be used for practical or pragmatic purposes for civilian good, or you can use it to cause destruction to the civilian good. So fundings for practical purposes or for good of the humanity should be there. For example, you have to fund to the local small countries. You have to fund for the small countries where you can be what I mean to say is funding can be used in two perspectives. Either you can use it for the benefit of the society, either you can use it for adversity of the society. So funding for development of the society should be used. For example, funding for research and development should be promoted. Funding for COVID vaccination should be promoted. Funding for getting food grains has to be supported to the poor countries. Funding to climate change should be supported. But funding on the other hand, if you are funding for getting the weapons, very wrong thing. Funding for the terrorist activities, a very wrong thing. Funding to get debt diplomacy is a very wrong thing. So these are the ethical issues that you have to look at the funding aspects. Now, what is corporate governance? Whenever you study corporate governance, you have to look about corporate social responsibility, how you have to govern corporate things. So what is the most important thing about corporate governance? As they will be not under the regulation of the government, they have to regulate. Self-regulation is very important for corporates. Every corporate, whoever is operating, they have to operate within the realms of rule of law of the land. In whichever land they are operating, they have to follow these norms. That is most important thing. And they have to show social responsibility towards them. They have to show environmental responsibility. They have to show ethical values in their administration. So you can write this. And they should have good work culture. Good work culture means you have to treat you men on par with women and vice versa. You have to treat even the lowest employee with equal respect. That is, dignity of labor should be present. Third thing is, you should not exploit any worker. Humanitarian phase should be present in working culture, or you should not over exploit the workers. You should inculcate the family bonding by conducting some functions like family day functions in an organization where you will meet together and show that when you are facing a problem together, the company will be coming towards you. And most important thing is, for women in any company, you should have some grievance redressal mechanisms very clearly. Not only for women, irrespective of the gender, you should have some internal complaints committee, and whenever the complaints are there, you have to resolve them with highest integrity. So this is all corporate governance. Now, what is probity in governance? Probity is, what is probity? Probity is the highest form of ethical values where you will have all the other traits in it. Probity is a larger term which includes integrity, which includes honesty. All other ethical values included here is probity. Probity means honesty in short. But apart from honesty, it will have all these things: dedication to public service, whatever the values are there, probity is inculcating this. So what are the things that you have in probity? Concept of public service. What is concept of public service? I'll discuss, and then I'll discuss what is governance. Like this, we can discuss GS paper 2 also, we'll complete that. Philosophical basis of governance, I will discuss, and probity. Information sharing and transparency is one of the important thing. Information sharing is very important because in government offices, if you want to know what is happening to the public, the first duty is you have to know to the public, or you have to answer to the public what exactly is happening. So in public offices, information sharing should be the norm and secrecy should be an exception. Only in exceptional cases you should maintain secrecy, but generally you have to go for sharing the information. Transparency means you have to be open. I already said transparency means maintaining openness. How you can maintain? By RTI, code of ethics, code of conduct, these things, citizens charter. And you have to maintain good work culture. Whatever I said for corporate governance, that is working for good work culture. Quality of service delivery, SAVOTTAM model. You have one model called SAVOTTAM model for quality of service delivery. The next one is utilization of public funds. The most important difficulty in any government office is funds will be minimum. Hence, you have to use optimal utilization or judicious utilization of funds is important. What does judicious utilization of funds mean? It is not underutilization, not underutilization, not overutilization, not misutilization. You should not underutilize, you should not overutilize, you should not misutilize, you should not something called unutilize the money. You should utilize correctly. That is the thing called utilization of public funds. For the appropriate good of the society, by objective decision making, you have to use the public funds. So remember this: underutilization, unutilization, misutilization, and the last one is overutilization. Overutilization का chance नहीं होता है, but at times you will ask more budget from the government and you are going to take it. So these are the four things that is the problem, but judicious use is the answer for all this. Challenges of corruption. What is corruption, guys? Corruption is accepting any gratification as per second IRC, acceptance of any gratification other than legal remuneration for the official duty you performed. Accepting any gratification other than legal remuneration for the official duty you performed is known as corruption. Look, other than legal remuneration, if I am accepting any gratification, that gratification can be in the form of money, that gratification can be in the form of gifts or anything. If I am accepting any gratification other than what I am legally entitled to get for performing a particular task is known as corruption. So use or by heart this sentence, it is going to be helpful. Now one more thing that you have to remember is corruption is not just in terms of money. Corruption is also not doing your duty, or escaping from your duty also amounts to corruption. If you are not doing your duty properly, then that amounts to corruption. So for a public servant, corruption is nothing but not only related to money, but not performing the task he is entitled to do is also corruption. Now challenges of corruption, you can write in your own thinking about that. So what I am going to discuss, this is the things that you have. So quickly what I am going to deal here is, I am going to convert GS paper 2. There is one topic known as governance in GS paper 2, if you do understand. Look, this is governance, where you will study about role of civil services in democracy, important aspects of governance, transparency, accountability, e-governance applications, citizens charter, transparency and accountability, and then you have some governance issues like how you have to frame public policy. So social justice aspects is this. So these are the governance aspects. This you have linkage with ethics, right? Just now I showed how the concept of public service has evolved, or public service or civil service has evolved. What is probity, or what are the values that you should have in public service? What is good governance? What is ethical governance? What is right to information? What is citizens charter? What is the so-called e-governance? All these things I'll just quickly discuss in a while. Within 10 minutes, I will conclude this statement, right? So with this, GS paper 2 governance का topic जो भी है, you can link it with ethics. So this is how this overlapping component is present. So you can complete governance with this itself, right? So this is how we have to study this answer. So this is GS paper 2 and this is your GS paper 4. Now let me discuss this governance and what are the important aspects of governance. So the rest of the things I have given you a brief introduction about each and everything. So please know the difference between code of ethics and code of conduct. Code of conduct is standardized form which was written document for the people to follow. Whereas code of ethics, it is not standardized, or it was not written. It is based on the moral conscience of the individuals. Code of conduct has sanctions by the authority. It was authority sanctioned, but here consigned sanction. Code of ethics is consigned sanction. In any of the circumstances, you have to follow code of conduct. If the code of conduct is silent, then you have to follow code of ethics. Code of conduct majorly speaks about what are the things that you should not do as an officer. Code of ethics speaks about what you have to do as an officer, right? So this is negative in connotation, that is positive in connotation. So this is a restriction, that is a extra provision. So this is code of conduct versus code of ethics that you might have studied. What is work culture? Already I have said. Quality of service delivery, these things. So no need to study fully. So what I mean to say is, don't be in this mood, I have to study the book and I have to write. You know general English, have confidence in yourself that whatever the topic that I have, what is the general meaning of this, I am going to put it. What is important here is you should know examples. You have to bring in, you have to think in, and you have to bring examples from various dimensions, particularly from moral philosophers, from social reformers, from the leaders, from political thinkers, right? All these people you should bring in and you should write. You should bring in some case studies. You should look at the things that is happening in your society and bring them back into your answer writing. That is, if you are reading the Hindu newspaper regularly or any newspaper, for that sake, you have to bring them in your answer writing, and then that is going to add value to your answer. So ethics is not about studying. Everyone know what is work culture. The culture that is present at the workplaces is not at work culture. If the culture is respectable to everyone, if the culture is giving dignity, then that work culture is said to be a very good work culture. But if it is not doing, if it is not there, then that is called a bad work culture. So like that you have to frame on your own. हमारे पास जो भी है, एवरीवन इज गुड एट इंग्लिश, एवरीवन कैन अंडरस्टैंड इंग्लिश, बिकॉज हम लोग वो एग्जाम को प्रिपेयर कर रहा हूँ फ्रॉम 2 years or 3 years, definitely will have that knowledge. So don't be in this dilemma or don't be in this apathetic state thinking that first I have to read the book and then I have to write. This is all nonsense. So what is ultimate target? The ultimate target is to write. So you should have that confidence. जो भी पूछता हूँ, I will be in a position to write and substantiate the answer. That should be the guts, that should be the optimism that you should have. We have to be able to manage with the little amount of content that we have. So don't waste your time in reading the books again and again. Keep your time in thinking, keep your time in getting the examples, keep your time in framing the sentences. That is more than enough for this paper, because if you have this quick understanding of what is happening, you can be in a position to write the answers. So what I say again is, reading newspapers, having some examples, having some personalities beforehand in your kitty is always a good thing to write the answers along with some quotations. So again, bring back my day one discussion into this, and then that will be substantiating your things. So quickly, there are some aspects like values of public services. What is these things? I'm going to show you how directly that is linked, and then you can understand. So that GS paper 2 governance का topic भी इधर ही हो जाता है, and GS paper 4 का governance aspects भी इधर होता है. So this is my last leg of discussion of this. Tomorrow I'll start with the questions directly for 2 days, and then I'll move to the next chapter or next subject, maybe internal security, parallel with GS paper 2. Right? That makes us to complete this GS paper 4. So let me quickly go through this. I will share it for you people. Give me some time. Guys, are you able to see my screen? Governance aspects. So जब भी गवर्नेंस एस्पेक्ट स्टडी करता है जीएस पेपर 2 पर्सपेक्टिव से और जीएस पेपर 4 पर्सपेक्टिव से, क्या लिखना है, क्या देखना है, व्हाट इज द सब्जेक्ट थिंग, व्हाट आर द कनेक्टिव थिंग्स. दिस इज द थिंग गाइस. Governance, either it is from GS paper 2 perspective or GS paper 4 perspective, this is the thing that you have ultimately. I hope the screen is visible to every one of you. Please confirm whether the screen is visible or not. Yes, this is the class that I have taken on governance in some other institute. I have taken the photo of this. So जब भी governance का है topic, what are the things that you have? What is government? What is governance? That you should know. Government versus governance. Evolution of governance, because you have that in GS paper 4. Evolution of government and governance. Who are the stakeholders in government? Stakeholders in government are civil services. That is role of civil services in democracy. Apart from that, you have civil society organizations. They are also playing a very crucial role in governance. That is NGOs, self-help groups, donors, trusts, charities, and religious institutions. जो भी है वो syllabus में था, but the organization should be this one. The second one is, what are the elements of good governance? Elements of governance is, governance can be good or governance can be bad. So what are the elements of good governance? The elements that was set by United Nations Development Program or 8. You should have accountability, you should have transparency, you have inclusivity, responsiveness, public participation, consensus oriented, that is social audit, grievance redressal. These are the 8 elements. You have to by heart it for good governance. Whenever they ask about a concept on governance, your answer should reiterate from this octagonal diagram. You have to write this: accountability, transparency, inclusivity, responsiveness, public participation, effective and efficient. Effective and efficient. Sixth one, seventh one is consensus oriented. Eighth one is grievance redressal. These are the elements that a good governance institution should have. So remember them. So now, how to increase the accountability? Accountability can be increased through your transparency. So accountability and transparency are interlinked. How to increase transparency? If you look at the subjects that were given in the syllabus, through code of conduct, through code of ethics, through citizens chapter, through RTI and through e-governance, you can improve the so-called transparency. So whenever they ask a question on how to improve the transparency, these are the things where they were written in the syllabus, but the organization is this: code of conduct, code of ethics, citizens charter, RTI, e-governance. Now, in the e-governance, there is a separate topic in e-governance because GS paper 2 में e-governance का separate syllabus है, लेकिन वो differentiation से पढ़ना नहीं, you have to prepare together. That is what you have to understand. So you have to club and you have to read these aspects. So e-governance का जरूरत क्या है? In order to understand that, what is e-governance, how e-governance emerged in India, what are the models of e-governance, that is government to government model, government to public model, public to business, government to business model. What is the success of e-governance? These successes you can write in the form of e-medicine, in the form of medical field, in the form of education field, business field, right? In every field you can write. In the governance field, everything is a success for the government, and however, you have certain limitations e-governance may. What are that limitations? We have to study. So this is important thing. After studying is, what is the status of governance in India? Because GS paper 4 में syllabus था, what is the status and problems of ethical governance in India? So status is, it is lacking the standards like integrity, impartiality. So civil servants में जो भी काम कर रहा हूँ, वो लोगों, इन लोगों पर, in that people you do not have this strong traits of ethical guidance. I do not say that totally 100% people do not have, but at least it is dwindling. That is what you can write. At the same time, probity in governance is missing. As a result, you can write all the other aspects. Status and problems is this. Corruption is biggest problem. How to ensure or overcome this? You have to give proper training. If you do this, what it is going to have? It is going to ensure that vulnerable sections are going to get benefited. अभी जो भी governance का model है, what is governance? Governance is making sure that the welfare objectivity of the government is fulfilled. How the welfare objectivity of the government will be fulfilled? It can be fulfilled by taking in line with each and every vulnerable section. Who are the vulnerable sections? Children, women, SC, ST, LGBT, elderly, physically challenged, rural population, urban population, that is rural vulnerable population, urban vulnerable population like slum dwellers, minorities. Minorities are linguistic minorities and religious minorities. In order to overcome that problem, what you have to do this is, you have institutional mechanisms such as constitutional bodies you have, statutory bodies you have, regulatory bodies you have, quasi-judicial bodies you have. This is how governance is divided. Right, civil services. This is how governance is divided to ensure the objectivity of welfare. Now, however, in order to overcome these problems for each and every section, what you should do, you should frame public policies so that you target a particular section and pull them out of poverty. Right? For that, public policy is very, very important. That makes us to enter into another topic, that is, what is public policy? What are the elements of good public policy? What are the challenges in public policy in India? And what are the measures that you have to take in public policy making? So governance has its linkage with public policy. So this is your GS paper 2 ka governance, social development. In GS paper 2, there are 4 themes. One is polity, governance, social justice, international relations. Governance and social justice aspect of GS paper 2 is this diagram. अभी इनका लिंक GS paper 4 में था, that is concept of public service, how public service was evolved, what are the values of public service. These are the things. Please do rejoin me. It is going to get disconnected within less than 1 minute. I'll not take much time. अभी ये देखो. So what is I am saying is, try to understand the syllabus. Governance का जो भी है इधर है. If they are asking what are the problems in governance, you have to write these things. Aptitude values are not present, and here what you have to write is probity in governance is not present. So this is the issues. How this concept was